Solo, a Star Wars story, hit cinemas the other week, and like the rabid Star Wars fan I am, I had to flock to see it immediately. Despite the fact it was a film that me and many other Star Wars fans thought was completely unnecessary and had absolutely no expectations for, it was still a Star Wars film, so it had to be viewed. And the question is, was it any good? So it's certainly not the worst film out there, but it's nowhere near as good as what it should be by Star Wars standards. And in a future film, we might even do a definitive Star Wars ranking, from my opinion. So when I first left the cinema after Solo had finished, I was blinded by pure rage and just anguish at how bad I actually thought the film was. I've given it a little time to sort of mull around in my head, and I've actually come to the conclusion that it's not actually as bad as what I first thought. Yes, there are a lot of issues with it, which there was naturally going to be because of the mess that the production was, but in the end, they've actually made an acceptable film into the franchise, I guess. Now, first off, I'm going to talk about the performances of the two characters that we've already seen before on screen, Han Solo and Lando Calrissian. Han Solo, played by Alden Alden. I'm just going to call him Alden. I can't pronounce his second name. I am sorry. I think a lot of the Star Wars fans, when it was first announced that they were doing a Han Solo spin-off, or a young Han Solo spin-off anyway, a lot of the fans would have been like, there is no Han Solo without Harrison Ford. And to a certain extent, that is true. We watch Alden in the film itself, and he does a good job. He does a surprisingly good job, but he is no Harrison Ford. And that's not anything against his acting ability. Like I say, surprisingly, he was entertaining. I found myself throughout the film actually looking and picking out little things that he was doing in his performance, little mannerisms that resembled what Harrison Ford used to do in not only Star Wars as Han Solo, but actually other things. And I thought that was a really, really nice sort of homage to the great man himself. But I will reiterate, he did a better job than what was expected by most people, including myself, so hats off to my mate Alden for that. And now on to Lando Calrissian, played by Donald Glover, and I think that he is probably everybody's favourite part about this film. He oozed charisma as Lando, and he got the performance down superbly well. He was actually so good with his performance of Lando that it's been rumoured that he's getting his own spin-off film, which is something that I can actually get on board with. He was that good in the role. So again, hats off to my mate Donald. Now, in terms of other performances we get in this film, we've got Woody Harrelson, who does his Woody Harrelson thing. Doesn't really chop and change it up too much, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I like Woody Harrelson, so he was fine. We had Paul Bettany. Again, Paul Bettany's a fantastic actor. The problem was he wasn't really given too much to do in this film, but it looked to me like he did the best he could with the material that was actually given to him. And we also had Emilia Clarke as Kira. Now, she was fine. It looks like they were trying to build her character up for a sequel, but it just kind of fell flat. And then we move on to L3. L3 is Lando's droid, and the character of L3 is actually that bad that you're actively rooting for it to die a horrible, painful death, which it does. Yay! I genuinely did actually cheer when L3 got shot in the cinema screen, and I cheered out loud. I annoyed a lot of people in the cinema, but I was so pleased that it was over. L3 was that bad. You are sat there going, man, this film could use Jar Jar Binks. You are sat there going, well, Rose in The Last Jedi wasn't actually that bad after all, was it, guys? Please, no more. Please, God, no more. One of the things I will say about L3 is something that a lot of people might not agree with, or they will agree with, but they just don't want to say it. It seems like it's a lot of things that Star Wars is trying to do at the moment, and that's force real-life political agendas through the films. I don't agree with that. Star Wars is about random creatures fighting in space over a mystical power. Stop trying to force these agendas through the characters. It just doesn't work. Now, in terms of the film's plot, it's like pretty much everything else in this film. It's alright. You do have some quite nice moments in it. You get to see the scene where Han and Chewie actually meet for the first time and their relationship develop over the film, which is actually a nice moment and really, really well done. On the other hand, you get to see the Kessel Run, which had been built up across the original series and even into The Force Awakens as a great moment for Han Solo, and it's just a bit dull, really. There's not much to it. They fly through an asteroid field and suck a giant tentacle monster into a vortex. They could have done it better, is what I'm saying. Now, back to the cameo that I mentioned earlier, we do get to see Darth Maul in this film towards the end as a hologram talking to Kira, which is trying to set it up for the sequel. I think it was put in there just to maybe a bit of fan service, maybe to give us that little bit of a gasp when it comes on screen. But again, like many of the things in this film, it just sort of fell flat and felt unnecessary. Sensing a bit of a theme here, I don't know. Let me know what you think below. So overall, it is a heist film in space, which is quite entertaining in parts, a bit dull in other parts. By no stretch of the imagination is it anything spectacular, nothing groundbreaking. Like Rogue One did, it doesn't really add anything new. But what I think Disney should be doing from now on with the filler that they're going to put out there, or any of the other Star Wars story films that they're going to be putting out there, is using new characters. Now, Disney have announced recently that they're going to be doing a Boba Fett spin-off. Now, that's something I could probably get a bit more on board with. Definitely more than when they announced the Han Solo film, because we don't actually know too much about the character of Boba Fett. But that's a discussion for another video. So that was my review of Solo: A Star Wars Story. If you like the video, please don't forget to give us a like, give the channel a subscribe, and check out some of the other videos we've done. Also, keep your eye out for some of the great content that we've got coming up. Thank you very much.